6 Paranormal Encounter Stories. Acknowledged a mimic. Now what? I've had several encounters when my husband wasn't home where I've heard him speak to me. I always just ignore it. Tonight my kid was asleep on the couch. I was about to let the dogs out. My husband was in the bathroom. I heard him quietly say my name. I turned around and walked to the bathroom, stood in the doorway for several seconds. Our conversation was as follows. Husband stares at me. Me stares back. H. What? What do you mean what? You called me in here. H. No. Are you messing with me? Because I heard your voice whisper my name? H. I'm really not. So, now what? I've acknowledged it. Do I just pretend it didn't happen and smudge the house? Tell it to leave? Assume my husband is messing with me and leave it at that? Decade-old experience. Still need help processing and maybe identifying. Hey y'all, first time posting here, and to be completely honest, I'm not sure if this is even the right place to post about this, but I just don't know what else to do. Anyways, here's my story, and in advance, I'd just like to say, so many people who I tell this story to say your friends did it and it's always really frustrating. So I wanted to get this out of the way first off. They literally physically could not have done this stuff unless these two elementary school kids paid a team of people to come out to this mountain ski town just to set up stuff in the middle of the night, screw with me during the day. They 100% could not have been involved for so many reasons. So back when I was in elementary school, probably 2003, 2005-ish, my parents took me up to this little ski town in the mountains called Crested Butte, Colorado. We'd gone a handful of times before, but this time we decided to go with my two best friends' brothers and their mom and stepdad. Me and my friends got our own hotel room and the adults had their own rooms. We were there for 3 days. The second day, me and my friends were walking around by ourselves, and at one point we were walking through an empty baseball field, and I hear one friend say, "What's that?" So I look and there's a small, smooth rock the size of my palm painted light blue with the word anger written in either pen or pencil on it. We thought it was creepy, so I threw it really far away in the field. The next day we're walking around and we decided to go through this weird cool alleyway that goes to some art galleries, and I gasp when I see on the small ledge on the wall of the alley another small blue painted smooth rock, this time with the word hatred written on it. I left it where it was this time. Later that night, we were in our room playing video games on our laptops, and we start to hear weird noises coming from outside, which really freaks us out because we're on the second floor up. So we open the window shades to see what's going on, and there's 2 child-sized handprints on the outside of our second floor window. Then when I finally got back home the next day, I was unpacking my backpack and I went ice cold and my heart sank. I felt what I instantly knew was another fucking blue painted rock in the bottom of my backpack. So I pull it out and sure enough, it's another one, this one with the word violence written on it. I went outside and threw it as hard as I could across the street. I had such PTSD nightmares and anxiety attacks about this for so long. I had to have someone do a Wiccan protection ritual for me, which did help a bit. One thing about this that really freaks me out about all this is that anger management issues is something I've struggled with literally my whole life. So it just seems like a weirdly big coincidence that I'm the one who ended up finding those stones. I've Googled and asked around, and all I can find is maybe the rocks were some witchy ritual to rid the person of those things. But then, how did that last one end up in the bottom of my backpack, which literally never left the hotel room the whole trip? Any advice or anything honestly would be appreciated. This still makes me very uncomfortable to think about, and honestly I hate not knowing what happened. One night I had a dream, a very simple dream. It was of me and my father telling me that the father of my 2 children was dead. That was it. That same morning, my children's father's girlfriend sees me and asks me if I heard of him, my children's father. I tell her no and ask what was going on. She simply says, "He's dead. We haven't heard from more about him ever since he got deported. Possible sleep paralysis incident into a 1-8. Okay, I'm not 100%, all I know is this was scary for me. It was a Saturday and I wanna say late 2017, early 2018. I was napping on the couch. I came in my dream to a strange place. It was as if my body and my mind were arguing about being awake, mentally and physically. One hand didn't know what the other was doing. In a sense, it was like being in my body, but being able to do anything. I started to see across the living room and my daughter, who was maybe not quite 10. I saw her walk up to me and hold my hand. but her face shifted. It literally changed. It went from my beautiful daughter to something monstrous. It was like a gargoyle, but still my daughter. It was terrifying, but shortly after, I woke up. When I woke up, I was on the same couch, and my daughter was in the room playing with a toy. Never experienced anything like that before. WW to spirits? Hi all. I may have a issue with some collectibles I own. I don't know what I believe, but I know what I have experienced. I collect WW to headgear, helmets, hats, etc., along with rifles, pistols, and bayonets. I got into this hobby to bond with my grandfather, who was a WW to vet. Gramps brought back a lot of stuff, mostly German. He said that he tried to take a trophy from every action that he was in. Before he passed, he gave me his trophies and taught me a lot about collecting. I have since amassed a decent collection in my own right, consisting of mostly American, German, and Japanese items. I believe my issue started after I acquired a German Quist M40 helmet with rather large blood staining and blood rot to its leather liner. It is an uncommon piece that holds both monetary and historic value, but I have had bad dreams and feelings ever since I purchased it. Not just dreams though. I could swear I have heard whispers in my collection room, and my lazy cat refuses to sleep on my couch that is in that room. My wife says I should go back to the VA and tell them my symptoms. I am an Army vet, but this does not feel like anxiety, depression, or PTSD. Hell, writing this out makes me doubt me. This could all be my imagination. But could anyone suggest how I might pacify or appease any energy or spirits that might accompany my collection, if for no other reason than my peace of mind? Thanks. Witnessed a goblin or dwarf thing. May have been a ghost. I don't exactly remember the year, but I was at my parents' house, and as I remember, I was taking out the recycle to distribute it into the bins. They are placed in our backyard after I had dumped the contents of the recycling that we keep in a bin as well. I pushed open my backyard gate and looked for a split second at my neighbor's backyard. What I saw has disturbed me to this day, and it's something I may never be able to explain. Even when I have told my parents and friends, they still don't believe me, and Reddit likely won't either. There was a small light on the side of the horse that perfectly outlined a tiny humanoid creature running extremely fast and clearing their backyard gate in one jump. I was so horrified by the sight that I just froze, unable to move. My heart was beating so rapidly, and I kept telling myself that it wasn't real, or maybe it was just a dog. But I know what I saw. I didn't sleep that night, and it took me a while after that day to get it out of my mind. But when I think back to it, I'm still disturbed by what happened. If I was to best describe it, it looked around 3-4 feet tall, colorless appearance, and stocky, almost like a dwarf. But it moved too fast to be human. It never looked at me. It just kept running forward. Is this paranormal? I don't know. It was anything but normal. However, I wish I had taken a picture, but it was too fast. Does anyone have an idea as to what this may be? My husband heard a burp that neither one of us were guilty of. So to start off, we live in a pretty large, but old house with his 87-year-old granny who is as polite as can be and tends to stay in her own space, which is on the second story as we are on the first. The three of us are the only people who live here, and we have no animals besides a 1-year-old ball python. This morning, my husband came back in from smoking a cigarette on the front porch and laid back in bed with me as I was half asleep and only halfway coherent. As he settles in beside me, he heard a loud belch that seemed to have came from the vanity area connected to our bedroom that leads to our bathroom, which is also 5 feet from our bed. Thinking reasonably, he assumed I did it, to which I denied, as I was still sleeping and only vaguely heard said noise. Granny was upstairs in the shower. We know that because of the old creaky pipes in the attic above our room. Not even an hour after this, I heard a whisper about a foot away from me say, "Hey," thinking it was my husband. I asked him what was up, and he replied back with confusion because he hadn't said anything to me for at least a good 10-15 minutes. We were sitting on our phones in complete silence. We've had some freaky things happen in this house before, but nothing this close to us, thankfully. This one was a little funny, to say the least.